Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel, and let's have equal rights for everybody.
Hello, this is Jenny James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Christian Cano. You're the co-host. My buttons are Moms Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is Coffee and Pan Dulce time. If y'all tuned in or you tune in today, you'll notice that we're doing a best of show. And as we always do when we take a week off, which I had some obligations last week that precluded me from recording. And so it's my fault. But anyway, make a note of that because I rarely admit my fault. But anyway, it is Coffee and Pan Dulce time. It's the last Wednesday of May 2024. Wow. That means May is officially over. If you're listening to this, it's the 29th of May, which means there's only 2 more days left in the month. And it's
almost halfway through. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, next month is June, which, is kind of the unofficial start to the summer. Kind of Memorial Day weekend's kind of that summer kickoff. Yeah. There's the big race here in town. We would have just had the 600, the Coca-Cola 600. There's a little plug for NASCAR in case you want to sponsor the show. But anyway, but what a bizarre, it seems like it was just yesterday was January.
Since just yesterday we were saying, God, this year's going to go by fast.
Yeah, so. And we got to wish. I mean, I guess careful what you wish for. I guess I should wish for world peace. Maybe. Never know. While we're at it, and some big time sponsors for the show would be nice. But anyway,
that's right.
This is just bizarre. I'm kind of befuddled that we're this far into the year. It's gone by very fast, which, as we've said before ad nauseum, this is another presidential year. It's not only another presidential election year, but it's just a repeat of 2020. Except they threw in some RFK kookery and Kennedy family kookery for shits and giggles. But truly, you got the 2 main candidates, Biden and Trump, that essentially were the nominees in 2020.
Yeah, it's just a rerun. Yep, exactly. Yeah. You're exactly right. Hey, Jen, so you said there's a big race in Charlotte. I mean, you and I are here in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a big race. Is there a drag race?
No, it's a vroom vroom. Vroom vroom, not ha ha.
Sorry.
I wish it was a big drag race. I would love to follow the reporter's show.
That's just funny. That's priceless. Yeah.
No, we didn't hear any protests. It was all vroom vroom.
Okay, well, excellent. Well, as Jenny said, well, everyone, welcome to Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn. Barb Bacon is on hiatus. We do wish her well. I know she's recovering from an incident that occurred, and our thoughts are with her. And we want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also the those who watch us on YouTube and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. So if you are watching us, one of the many that watch us on YouTube or Facebook, you see Baby Trump Pinata and St. Bernie. This may be one of their last shows that they'll be on. This one, we'll see. We're going to be doing this summer some format changing, and so we're going to have a fun summer. And then in the fall of 2024, which is in only 3 more months, hard to believe that, we'll be doing some things a little bit differently. I do want to mention to you that. As Jenny said, we do tape this a week in advance. And so when you're watching this, it's actually December 29th. Today's show, we're actually going to be doing, it's actually called The Summer to Save Democracy 2024. Is this going to be the summer that saves our democracy, or is this going to be the summer that ends our democracy? I guess that's kind of as easy as to say it. So this is going to be one of those thought-provoking shows, but I'm sure we'll talk about other things as well. Before we start all that, we're going to jump directly into Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, here we go, Jen. I've got 3 for you. The first one. Here in the state of North Carolina, you're not going to be surprised by this one if you watch the show or you listen to it. In the state of North Carolina, they have discovered that middle class and wealthy families are those who really are getting the private school vouchers. It turns out that of all the people that are applying for the school vouchers for private schools, 70% of those who are applying are people whose kids are already in private school. So only 30% are applying for people who want to go to private school. I'm going to let that sink in because what we've been talking about for a long time, we've actually done 2 shows ago, was our private school, our vouchers, welfare queens or something like that. I can't remember our title. Anyway, it turns out that 70% are from families that make over $200,000 a year. And basically their kids are already going to private school. They just want a little bit more money to do whatever. So that's the first one. The second one is, and this is actually kind of serious in a way, but also kind of enlightening. There are 2 studies that just came out. One of them was about the COVID vaccine that was just released, and the other one was about HIV vaccines. Both of them, the studies, especially the COVID vaccine, is showing that people who have received vaccinations and boosters with that new RNA? Is that
mRNA? Yeah.
mRNA. Apparently, that type of vaccine, when you get your vaccine, it actually makes your. I don't know. I wish we had Dr. B on this one. It does something with the memory of your antibodies, and it makes it not only helps you with the old vaccine, but helps you prevent with new vaccines and new strands. And it turns out that specific it is. I don't want to word it like this because it sounds like science fiction, but when you get these new vaccines, it's actually making your bodies fight more vaccines, and it's actually more beneficial, and it's kind of hard to explain that. But also with the HIV, in the first test ever, HIV vaccines are also triggering these antibodies that are helping to prevent future strands of HIV. So I know that's kind of complicated, but this is very important because it's the very first time in history, and I'm a product of the HIV pandemic and generation. Jenny and I, we're Gen Xers, and this is the first time that we've actually seen something like this. So this is really big news. I don't know if anybody realizes that. The last one is Jenny touched about this on her show. We taped her show before this one, so ironically, she talked about this in the state of Texas. And the second I think it's the second biggest county in Texas. Houston is the first one. Dallas is the second biggest county. Their sheriff, the sheriff's race is down to two people who are in a runoff as we speak. They're counting the votes. Former Sheriff Lupe Valdez, who was the former sheriff, and then she stepped down to run for governor. And then the current sheriff, Brown, they're both running. They're in a runoff, and whoever wins that runoff will be the sheriff. But more importantly, and I think this is what Jenny talked about, shows you how progressive Dallas County is. These are two very progressive women of color that are going to vote for sheriff. So those who look at Texas and go, oh, a bunch of crazy MAGAs, yes, on the state level, but on the local levels, almost all the big cities and counties are run by very, very progressive individuals. So those are the three, Jen. I know it's a lot. Which one do you want to take? Or all of them?
I'll start with the vaccines.
Okay.
The vaccines, they've been working on these a long time. The HIV vaccine especially has been an elusive thing because of the nature of HIV and AIDS. And so, of course, they do have the medications out called PrEP, which is a maintenance medication that also is designed to prevent. It's not a vaccine, but it's designed to get the body to where it won't take on the HIV virus. It just won't, even if you get exposed to it, it's designed to prevent that. So it's been a long-standing fight that's over 40 years old, and preventing the transmission and the spread of HIV, which is ultimately the goal with any virus, no matter what we're talking about. And I think it's great as far as the breakthroughs with the mRNA. Yeah, we've been doing this for 20 years, and it just helps the body run better. It's an instruction set. We have RNA in our body anyway. If you took 8th grade biology, you would know that. And people, a lot of this technology isn't that old, isn't that new, and a lot of it's just duplication of processes and scientific methods that have been around a long time. And we're just improving on an old model. And it's great because it works and it saves lives. That's why COVID vaccines were able to roll out so fast. Dallas being progressive is not a shock. I mean, they have, one of the largest prides in the United States. They have a gay
Dallas
district that is massive. And so there's, this has been happening in Texas and in southern states in general, like Georgia, like Texas, like even North Carolina, where you have really big blue dots that are the cities and counties that have moved very far left, mainly because of technology, mainly because the younger generations are now voting, and they're voting at very high numbers for women candidates, LGBT candidates, candidates of color. This has been a trend that we've seen, especially in the last couple election cycles. I hope it continues. Honestly, I love to see it. I love to see women in politics. I'd love to see more of it, especially on the national level. And it's time. It's one of these things that women need to run for office, and for all kinds of offices, because progressive women and progressive women of color need more representation. I think it will hold down the kookery. It'll balance out all the people that want to take away human rights and be decent people. And we'll have to put up with less MTGs if we do that. I wish her district would get it together there in Georgia.
Exactly.
And vote anybody in but her. Just take out the trash, people. So it's not shocking that Dallas has progressed. I don't even remember what the third topic was.
School voucher data that's coming out in North Carolina.
Oh, what a shock!
That rich people, 70%. Yeah, 70% of the people who are applying for school vouchers, 70%, their kids are already in private schools.
Correct.
Yeah.
So rich people. I'm going to give a news flash. I'm going to give a little Socrates wisdom here. Hey, y'all. when you offer rich people money,
Mm-hmm.
but especially rich people, even if it's going to something they're already paying for themselves, you know what their
Sure.
next answer is? 100% of the time is yes. Make the check out
Yes.
to, because they got wealthy
Mm-hmm.
because they know the power of the dollar. And
Yep.
if you, I don't know, call me kooky, you offer an $8,000 blank check and go, yeah, you can spend it on private school. We don't care if your kid's already going to private school.
Mm-hmm.
Did that really come down to school choice, or was it just, or these rich people just big old welfare queens?
Yeah.
They don't care. They're going to laugh all the way to the bank. This happened in Florida. It's happened in Arizona. Every
Mm-hmm.
state where they've done these type of programs.
Yeah.
70 to 80% of the students that are receiving the assistance from the state to a private educational system of any kind, the families don't need it. They spend it on Disney trips. Like if they give you a direct funding, like Florida is taking it a step further, and you can actually fund homeschooling. So they scratch a check for $8,000.
That's
so
crazy.
you can buy iPads, gaming stations.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy season passes to Disney. You could buy a cruise with it. You could do anything you want. It's your money. They hand you a check and say, good luck. Hope your kids can read. And obviously, these families don't need the money. If they can blow it on toys, clearly this isn't solving a need. It's not taking kids from economically disadvantaged neighborhoods and giving them a private education or a private tutor, or it's not advancing any group of people that typically is financially disadvantaged. I would say if we really rolled back the things, if we look at all the income levels, I would imagine almost all the families that are using this private tuition money make in north of $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Because $8,000 to a private academy that costs $24,000 means that they still got to crap out over $1,000 a month, and no poor family's doing that. And the average private tuition in North Carolina for a private academy of any kind of accreditation is between $22,000 and $26,000, and that's kind of the norm in the South. And if you go to a city like LA or New York, that can be $50,000 to $80,000 for a private academy. People don't realize there's private preschools that are $30,000 a year or more. Now they may have filet mignon for lunch, but that's beside the point. Is we're taking public dollars and blindly giving it to people. These private schools, and there's no accountability, which is the whole reason why people bitch about socialism and welfare programs. Oh, there's no accountability, and then we do this. And then we wonder why our public schools are underfunded, or we got to close some foosball programs down. Don't bitch. You wanted this.
Well, no, you're exactly right, Jenny. And I think what's so disingenuous about this North Carolina data that's coming out, but we've talked about this. You and I have talked about this, and they've experienced this in other states as well. And it was like, we knew this was going to happen. I mean, as you mentioned, it's no secret when, and one of the misnomers or one of the myths that people say that support these kind of things is we pay enough in state taxes. We're just basically getting our money back, and that is that's one of the arguments that when you say that, you go, oh well, that makes sense. But when you dig directly into it, there's no one, maybe Elon Musk, maybe some of the really wealthy people, the top 1% of people that pay enough in taxes, and many of them don't even pay taxes. They have so many loopholes they pay no taxes. But let's assume that they did pay a little bit of taxes. There's very few people that pay enough taxes in the public for the public good to pay for the roads they use, the fire department, the police departments. It takes a group of us to pay for taxes for one student. And so to think that, well, I'm just getting my taxes back. No, you will never pay enough taxes unless you actually had your own government that you paid for to pay for all the goods and services. And so, but I think what's really important about that is what they're saying is these students that are these parents that are have applied for this voucher, 70% of them are already in private schools, which means that this is not giving people's choice. They've already made their choice, and these private schools don't lower their tuition. There's a certain, so if you are not part of the 70% whose kids are already, you still probably can't afford to send your kid to Country Day or to Dallas or Charlotte Catholic, because you still can't afford it even with the voucher. And so that's one of the things I think that people are looking at. Anyway, I'm beating a dead horse over the whatever the term is, because it's when I saw this come out, this report that came out, it was like, we knew this was going to happen. And so now what's going to happen is like what's happening in Texas. Now you're going to see these rural counties in North Carolina whose money is being pulled from the public school system because of their budgets. Now they're going to say, hey, these big city rich people are taking all of our money. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. So I don't know if you want to say anything before we take our first break, but it's like,
no, I think the only thing I'm going to jump in is this is something, sure. A point that's missed is that if it takes $24,000 to send your kid to a private school, and the public school that's competing against that operates with only $8,000 a student, that means a couple things. One, that the public schools are doing an incredible job with the money they're given. And can you imagine if we actually funded public schools to where public schools didn't have to cut programs? Can you imagine if we fully funded public schools and cut out all these hijinks and actually collected the taxes from the billionaires and high wealth millionaires that we need to actually collect instead of giving them huge tax breaks, again, welfare, and shifting that into our school system? We fully funded this, we wouldn't have to worry about school choice or any of these other issues. Is that we would have the perfect school systems, because that's what happens. Schools need funding. And if a private school needs $24,000 to operate, and we're only giving public schools $8,000 a student to operate, that means theoretically they're running at a $16,000 deficit per student.
Exactly.
Do that math in your head for a second. And it shows you how we don't value education in this country, and we'd rather build bombs and ugly cyber trucks than build proper schools. And that's a sad fact. That's a sad fact. That breaks my heart.
You're exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right. All right, we're going to take our first break, and then we'll come back. We'll come back and talk about a little bit about our topic today. And so we will be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Okay. All right. Hey, y'all! Thanks for watching our spring shows and sticking with us. And we've got a fabulous summer lineup. I hope y'all are excited as I am. And let's enjoy our summers. Hot Girl Summer 2024. See y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching. And support local Black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. It has some fabulous pastries, food, king steaks, all kinds of specialty cakes, swallowing, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo's Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching. So we have a great fall lineup, and we encourage you to tune in to many of our fabulous shows, like our Say show, and many more things in October and November as well. Thanks for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching the Florida shows. They've been wildly successful. Obviously, it's a topic that you guys have enjoyed and wanted to know more of. And we like talking about the dumpster fire. They used to be the state of Florida, and we'll probably talk about it some more this summer. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for watching. Welcome back, everyone. So, Jenny, I mean, it is, I almost, when I read that, it's almost, I'm angry because we've been talking about this, but I'm also kind of chuckling in a way because, it's like, I told you not to touch that fire, you're going to get burned. And
Well,
you and I have been saying this and people around the country. This voucher scheme doesn't help poor people. It doesn't help our Black and brown communities. It helps
nah.
wealthy people. And
Can we just say it was never meant to? Can we just be honest about our politics and go, this is just the find out phase of politics, American politics right now, is that the reason why students are burning down their colleges is because our country doesn't value anything that even makes fucking sense. We have gotten to a phase of democracy where we do not give a damn about our future. Because if we did, we'd be working really hard to keep clean air and water going. And the fact that we begrudge some politicians that want to provide clean air and clean water for the future, but at the same time turn around and want to fund bombs, fund Elon Musk, fund starships going to Mars, like we need a spaceship going to Mars, like we need a hole in the head, tells you all you need to know about the modern political systems. And this is going to be one of these things that we're going to look back, if we have history books in the future and if we have the ability to communicate freely, we're going to look back and go, yeah, we probably should have listened better. And the whole title of that article is saying, oh, we can't believe that, 70% is going to these families, these wealthy families. I'm going, and water is wet.
Exactly. It's like that. So, all right. So
there's just a here's your sign moment. Please move on. Let's fix some bridges or something. Dear God.
Exactly. So, all right. We're going to circle back to our topic. Okay. Summer to Save Democracy 2024. So, there's a lot going on. Jenny and I have been talking about this all year long because basically she and I have been carrying this show together as our co-hosts and stuff have gone in and out. This is going to be a very important summer. And I'm not trying to, I know we've said this every year, it seems like it. Since Trump was elected, almost every election has been, this is the most important election of your life. I don't remember every election being like that, but it's been like this since 2016. But this just seems to be the end of a long soap opera. And at the end of the long, this is like the end of a telenovela. And we don't know, as everyone is staring at each other in this telenovela, we don't know what's going to happen. And it can either end very badly or it can end, God, I'm so glad this damn telenovela is over. So that's what it feels like to me. I don't know what it feels like to you, Jenny, but it seems like this summer is going to be the summer that really determines where our democracy is heading. And now I know it's not going to be the end of the world, and I don't want to make it too dramatic, but it does seem like there's a lot on the line. And I'm not as nervous as I probably was this time last year, but I'm still concerned because I remember how it felt when Trump got elected. And so I don't know if you want to help me out with that, but what do you think is going to happen this summer? I know everyone's going to be doing their own part, but what do you think is going to happen?
No matter who's elected this fall, Biden gets reelected or Trump gets elected again or whatever term we use for somebody that won and then lost and then is trying to win again.
Sure.
Life goes on. There is a little bit of a false urgency created by progressives and Democrats saying this is the most important election ever. They were all important, but we chose to ignore some of them. So
good point.
Many people chose to sit out 2016, and then we elected a president that made choices that are counter to our best interests. So all the women that didn't vote for Hillary in 2016, just pat yourself on the back that you elected a president by not participating in democracy that was nominated and put in office 3 Supreme Court justices is going to guarantee that's going to end all women's rights. Is that when you don't participate in democracy, you still get democracy. You just don't get the version that's conducive to your own well-being. And when you sit out something, whether it's brushing your teeth and letting your teeth rot, or you let democracy do its deal, elections are going to come and go.
Yeah.
And presidents and politicians are going to come and go. You decide if you want to participate or not. And that's a perfectly valid point. But don't be mad. Don't be butthurt when we elect a monster like Trump that is going to make decisions based on the people that promoted him to that position, the people that donated him money, the people that voted for him said, we don't want abortion anymore. We don't want birth control anymore. We don't want women making any decisions about their body. That's what these people repeatedly have said for 50 fucking years. We act like this just happened. Roe v. Wade was like 1973.
Yep.
Or 71 or some shit like that when I was 2-3 years old and crapping in my own diapers and eating fudgy-sickles. Like, this is nothing new. Democracy is not new. Our democracy is over 240 years old. And so one of the things that gives me a red ass about politics, and especially summer politics being on the topic, is we act like we're the only ones that can clean up the mess, and we act like we weren't responsible for the fucking mess. Well, we got chocolate stains all over our face and our fingers, and we got Cheeto stains all over our hands. We're the ones that made the mess.
Yeah.
Everybody that can vote in this year's election that are 26 years old and older, whether they voted or didn't vote in the 2016 election, are responsible for the shitstorm that we're in now. No matter who you voted for, you were responsible or didn't vote. If you were eligible to vote in 2016, whether you participated or not, you're responsible for this American democracy shitstorm we're in 2024.
Okay.
And in 2028, and so on and so forth. And we've got to get to the point where we've got to talk about issues. We need to stop talking about the southern border. We need to stop talking about stupid stuff. We got to quit electing people. They're going to remove the speaker every time that he changes cologne. And we got to put responsible fucking adults in office, no matter whether it's the sheriff, the dog catcher, the fucking mayor of Charlotte, the city council, governor, whomever. But in 2024, if we just vote for semi-responsible adults that are semi-sane, just listen to the candidates and listen to what they say and don't say. Make sure you don't vote for somebody that shoots their dog for no reason. Things like that. Everything will handle itself. But it's at some point, people in America listened to Hillary and listened to Trump in 2016 and said they were about the same. And I can tell you, I've heard a lot of Hillary's speeches. I'm going to tell you, she doesn't sound anywhere near like Trump. Like, it's not the worst of two evils. And Biden's the same way. Biden might have a snarky sense of humor when he goes dark Brandon, but the truth is Biden and Trump are way two different men, other than they're old white men. But the politics of their parties are way different. Maybe some people should get some wax out of their ears and actually listen to what people are saying and pay attention. But yeah, whether you vote or not in this fall, make some decisions over the summer. Educate yourself. Go to some protests. Knock on some doors for some local campaigners. Help out in democracy. There's so many ways you can help. It's more than just voting. It's really getting educated. It starts and stops with educating yourself and actually fooling around and maybe reading something. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Those are very excellent points, Jenny. And on that note, we're going to take our second break. So we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, this is Christian Cano with the Coffee and Pan Dulce Show. I want to thank everyone who watched our wonderful summer shows. We had incredible viewership and incredible listenership numbers. And we also want to let you know that our fall schedule is out. We have some great shows coming in September, October, and November. So please stay with us all fall and watch our fall shows on Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'll dance out. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching our Coffee Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Well, welcome back, everyone. So, there's a lot going to be going on this summer, not to mention just everyone just living their normal lives, summer vacations and doing what you do in the summer, traveling or, whatever you're doing. Sometimes I have to remind myself because, you and I are very engaged in not only our communities, but also in politics as well. But then we do shows as well. So sometimes I think because we're in our bubble, that we think everyone else is engaged as we are. Most people are just doing their life, doing their job, doing what they do. They're not as engaged as we are. And they don't necessarily get as engaged as we are until about Labor Day weekend and then after, then maybe even a couple of months before the election, then they start talking about it. But the people that are talking about politics now are people that are either engaged or just want something to talk about. And so what I found is, and you mentioned this before, there's not really that much difference. And correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but this is basically just a rerun of 2016 or 2020, right? Or 2020, right? This is just basically a rerun. So there's not a lot of our choices that we have are going to be between Joe Biden, the current president, or between Trump, who was the current president, but was fired from that job because of the poor job he did compared to what the American people wanted at the time. So you have two people, a guy who was fired and a guy who's currently holding the position. So I'm looking at it as this is a job that we're hiring for. And then you have another person who's kind of wants the job, is a little crazy, the Kennedy guy who's saying, I haven't never held an elected position. I don't really have any experience, but I'd like that job. So there's kind of like three people, involved. So this is really just a rerun, right? I mean, so most people, you're just making a decision. Do I want the current person who has the job? Do I want to bring in the guy that I fired, hoping that they will do a better job? Or do I want this crazy third person? Isn't that kind of like the choices that we have? I mean,
more or less.
Oversimplifying it, or
no? I mean, I think if it's the old question, and I know it happened in the Reagan elections in 1984. The Republicans really touted, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" Mm-hmm. And really to answer that question, people will have to realize what was going on 4 years ago, and our country was melting down. Sure. Economically. The COVID had everybody inside their homes. Everybody was afraid to travel for good reason. We were in the middle of a deadly pandemic that cost people, Americans' lives, worldwide, tens of millions of people, and shut down literally countries. And we were one of the fortunate countries to really bounce back faster than everybody else.
Sure.
For a myriad of reasons. But at the end of the day, during the summer, people should be able to draw an opinion by Labor Day on who they want to vote for, and
sure.
And that's not just on the federal level, just on the presidential level, but we're picking a governor here and an attorney general and all kinds of jobs, and they're all important functions, and during the summer, you have 12 weeks of summer that you can go attend events and you can go get involved, or you can go pick up sample ballots. And there's a lot of ways you can educate yourself on who, when you get into that voting booth or you mail in that ballot, who you want to see representing you. And I think people need to understand democracy in general and understand representative democracy and go, if I was hiring this person, would I trust them with my household? Would I trust them with my business? Would I trust them with my car?
Yes.
And if you look at them like an MTG, for example, I wouldn't trust her with my kids' Hot Wheels, much less my car. And even though I don't drive a fancy car by any, it's a very modest car, but it's all I got. And MTG is a crackpot. And, you know, when you're interviewing these people in your head, you need to go, would I trust this person to watch my kids? Would I trust these people with the most crucial aspects of my daily life? Because when you vote for somebody, that's what you're saying, is that you represent me in rooms that I can't be in every day. Because again, what you said is true. We go about our daily lives, no matter what happens this fall in the November election, life does go on, hopefully. And we got to live in between those moments. But the people we put in office locally and especially on the state level, they do affect our lives.
Yeah.
We should vote accordingly.
You're right. And, you know, we've been saying this since we started this show, you know, 7 seasons ago about, you know, running for office is like applying for a job. I mean, really, you're applying for a job, different levels. There's local jobs, state jobs, and federal jobs. And of course, the big job of all, the president of the United States. And so that's kind of how I see it. And I hope the viewers and listeners who are watching this show, well, at least I know if they're watching this show, they semi-agree with some of the things we say. You know, not the ones that just post on social media, even though we thank them. Yeah, even though we thank them. You know, so when you're looking at these candidates and these options, and that's kind of how I have been sharing this thing. You know, people are saying all the other stuff. You know, Biden's old and all this kind of stuff, and yada yada. Okay, let's take all of that into consideration. All right, let's take all of that into consideration. The job that we're electing that person for is for the president of the United States. It's for the highest job and the highest elected job in this nation. Do we want someone who may be old and senior, and I've got senior people in my family that I trust and that I think, who can surround themselves with very qualified people, who there are very, very few people that I know of that Biden has either hired or worked for him that has come out and wrote books about, how he was he was this and this is. I don't know anybody. Or do we want the guy that we fired? Let's remember, we fired him because almost every single person that's ever worked with him has said he was a dick. So to me, these are the two options. If you make the decision to stay with the person that we've got currently for another 4 years, to me, that kind of tells who you are. Or if you're willing to say, this guy that I would have a beer with, but is a dick, if you say he is the better option, to me, it tells a lot more about you than it does about the person you're voting for. Because basically what I just don't, I get why there are people that are loyal to a party. Let's say Republicans, okay, but don't try to think that we're so stupid to think that you actually believe this person is going to somehow make your life better or make this country better or whatever. Because it's very hard for me to understand. In 2024, after all the chaos, after all the drama that we've been through, basically you're saying, I like chaos, I like drama, and I really don't want someone to function. I just want someone who's just entertaining. I don't understand that. And that's the hardest part for me to understand about people, the MAGA kind of individuals. I don't know. I went on a crazy thing there. Sorry.
Fine. You're fine. I think also too we've confused political theater with actual politics and policy. Like I think, and part of this is true no matter what. So we do vote with our eyes. We do vote with our hearts. Mm-hmm. You can't separate the emotions and the social aspect of human beings from voting, because we want to vote for somebody we admire. We want that JFK-esque human being that says, I'll land us on the moon, I'll deliver. We can never discount the fact that no matter how you vote, how you were raised, the whole 9 yards, people draw inspiration from fear. They draw inspiration from people that will stand up and say, I'll do the job. Let me in, put me in, coach.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, whether it's Trump or Biden that wins, both of them are asking to do the job, the same job.
Sure. Yeah.
Both of them have done the job for almost, Biden's almost at the end of his first full term. And they both have a standing in history as the 45th and 46th presidents. And, no matter what happens, we have to realize there's a certain amount of optics to politics. People judge people and how they look, how they act, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And people also forget what he was like as president.
Yeah. He was,
Trump's been out of office.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some people like to look at the car wreck on the side of the road. Some people love to turn into the news and see whose house burned down. There's a certain amount of human beings, they go, I want to see that person say, hold my beer, watch this.
Sure.
And whether we we agree with it or not, mm-hmm. Trump appeals to a specific kind of human being mm-hmm. that says, fuck it, set it on fire.
Yes.
Turn it upside down.
Do you think, Jenny, before we take our last break here, do you think, and I do realize, and I see the data, I see the polling, I do realize that the MAGA chaos individual is really a very, very small percentage of people. They just happen to be very loud. They're just very, very loud. Okay, they're so loud, and especially with social media, they're loud. And so they are bigger than the numbers show, because as we're seeing from the elections, they're more bark than they are actual being able to get the individuals out. The challenge I have, because the normal people, what I would say, the people who want good governance and things like things that you and I are talking about, they're not loud. They're just working. They're professionals. They're raising kids. They're doing the things they do. And so the way the polling is showing is that Trump is ahead by small margins in other areas. But we know logically that the people who are engaged are the ones that will answer their phone because they want their voice in the polling. All right. Most people will never answer a phone for someone they don't know. They won't take the time to do polling. So the polling is skewed very much. It is skewed. And so I guess my angst is this summer is the summer that we have an opportunity to remind those, I would say, the normal people, hopefully the people that watch our show and listen to our show, how important it is. You don't have to be loud, but just grab your family, make sure that you go out to vote, make sure that we don't make the same mistakes as we did in 2016 and just kind of stay home, because it is important, because we have the opportunity. I am so tired of Trump. I'm so tired of MAGA. I'm so tired of the chaos. It's fun to listen to, I'll admit, and I know I'm rambling on, Jenny, and I need you to save me here. Okay. I've been listening to the Trump trial, and they will be in their, they ended yesterday, and they will do the final arguments next Tuesday. For the last 3 weeks, I have been watching and listening to the trial. So I'm one of those persons that likes to see the car wreck. Okay. I'm like, oh my God, this is tantalizing. What did Stormy Daniels say? What did Michael Cohen say? This. Okay. So I admit I'm one of the viewers and listeners who do that, but I don't want that as my president.
Yeah. But
you know what I mean?
Some people do. And so yes. This is the one thing with representative democracy and voting is that it's almost like a consumer product. You sell your best version of you. Hillary had a better message overall. She was a more appealing candidate in 2016. Mm-hmm. She just wasn't the person for that time in history. Sure. And whereas the difference is that Biden, he got to come in and basically be the cleanup guy. Trump had so, when you think about the summer of 2020, and we think about what happened in May and June of 2020 with the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, and so much that was going on that had nothing to do with necessarily the presidential race or even COVID, but people were angry. They were lashing out. And we went to 3 of the protests and 3 of the marches, and we noticed some very particular things, is that there was a lot of young people engaged. There was a good mix of people engaged. And that's what we need to see is we need to see that engagement. We need to see a certain amount of level of participation. Democracy is a participation sport. And it's one of the few things you can do in life that doesn't really cost you anything in the short term. In the long term, it can cost you everything.
Exactly.
And vote accordingly. But if you don't like your access to abortion being taken away, if you don't like our money going to bombs to blow up Palestinians, vote accordingly. Vote your conscience. And it's the same way with public schools. If you want to support public schools, support a candidates locally and statewide to support that without a shadow of doubt, they support public education. Make sure you know their position on public education. That's one of the few functions. Make sure they fund it. Make sure they've always voted for it. If they're a sitting, a politician that can affect policy, one of the most important things you can do is making sure that they're doing the job, or they're willing to do the job. Because if they're not, vote differently.
Exactly. Listen, I'm going to say what I'm going to say till we come back about what you just said about the person, and you made an excellent point, Jenny, as always, about the person that we elect is really kind of our voice, because we can't be everywhere. They're the voice that represents us wherever, in the state house, in the local house, or in the federal house. So listen, if you like what you hear from Jenny, she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. This last commercial talks about her show, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Hey guys, I've got a special product out, and we've got a store under the name blueappliedtech.com, and you can go on our Etsy store, you can go on our social media, and you can check out our merchandise. We have some amazing snowflake Trump mugshot ornaments. We have mugs, we have pillow covers, we have a lot of cute stuff for the holiday season that you can buy. And it's great fun, and it goes to a good cause. It goes to my company, and it's helping us out getting started. And also, who doesn't want a historic snowflake Trump ornament?
Exactly.
Here,
that's funny. What's the name of it again?
And the name of the company is Blue, like the color blue, applied APPLIED Tech. Like technology.
Blue Applied Tech. Cool.
And so you can look us up. We have a website, but our store is on Etsy, and a lot of people use Etsy for different types of gifts that are assembled in the United States, so it creates American jobs. And most of all, it's a lot of fun, and they're not expensive.
Cool.
So,
Blue Applied Tech. Got it.
Correct. Come seek us out and buy some gifts.
Cool. Hey, I'm Christian Cano. I wanted to thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce shows. I also want to thank you so much for watching us on our video podcast, which is on Facebook and YouTube, but also for listening to us on our audio podcast shows on your favorite audio podcast platform, like Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podcast Chaser, and many more. Once again, thanks for watching us and listening to us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome back, everyone. So don't forget to watch Jenny's show every Wednesday at 11:30 on Facebook, YouTube, or listen to it on your favorite audio podcast platform. Okay, so what you said makes logical sense, Jenny. Those of us who have been hiring managers before, and all of us, I know you have and I have, anyone who's been a hiring manager, not only do you hire someone who has the skill set and have the qualifications, but there's also this other, like a sixth sense. You want to hire someone who you're not going to have to watch every single second of the day. Because the last thing you want to do is hire someone in a position who every other day there's drama and there's chaos and there's something happening, whether they're arguing with other employees, whether they're being like MTG and talk about somebody's eyelashes, whether they're just being crazy. Because then
you want to hire somebody. You want to hire somebody that's a functioning adult?
Exactly what you said. Because if they're too much trouble, why are they even there? Because then you come to the conclusion, why do I even have you here if I'm doing everything? If I'm having to reply. So kind of what you said, Jenny, when we're hiring an elected official, the last thing I want is an elected official who's snarkly all the time on social media, who's creating chaos, who's having all kinds of drama in their life, like MTG, Lower Boebert, Matt Gaetz. You want someone who is in that job, who's doing that job, and who is always kind of under the radar. I don't need a showy person for that job. And that seems to be the requirement for MAGA candidates. And that's the thing that I just don't get. And maybe am I just clueless on why people want someone like that?
I think when people have a simple message, and especially MAGA candidates, making America great again is a very simple slogan, and it does sound good. When you first hear it, you go, well, that's not so bad. Yeah. When you're looking for somebody to do any kind of job, but especially represent, again, it's why I call it representative democracy, because we go into a voting booth and we check off the names that we want them to be in the city council for us. That's why we have direct representatives, that they go into these rooms and they said that what they would do when they were doing the job interview, and then after they get hired after the election, they go and they do it. Mm-hmm. And that's why you need to listen to what they say, and you need to listen to what they write. And when you have a governor of South Dakota, for example, that went out and shot their dog because it was too hyperactive, and instead of making a different choice, but the big character matters. Sure. If you're electing somebody in Colorado that's a former sex worker and stripper and a sex criminal husband, now ex-husband, or she's masturbating somebody in a theater that has kids in it, that matters. If every week you see your representative from Georgia melting down on the House floor for a soundbite, that matters, because that's who's representing you in that room. So if they're literally melting down on national TV, that's who you are. Yeah. That's it. You're exactly right. Like Mayor Vi Lyles, for example, is the face of Charlotte, whether we like that or not. Sure. She is kind of the de facto head of the city government, and that's who we say, well, the mayor needs to do something, and she happens to be in that role right now. If Mayor Vi Lyles went out and did something terrible, we would every week. Oh, God, that's a reflection of our city. It makes us look bad. Maybe we should change mayors. Exactly. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, excellent point. Hey, listen, Jen, before we end our show, I do want to jump directly into our Pendejo Chronicles. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. All right. This week, Trump wins it for like the 10th time. As I mentioned to you, his actual trial in New York, his criminal trial, he's a criminal defendant. So let's remind people he's a criminal defendant. Okay, so the criminal defendant, both sides, the prosecution and his defense team have closed. I don't know what they call it. They rested their case. Closing arguments will be next week. Trump came out after that to do one of his long speeches. He indirectly dog whistled a racist comment about the judge. The judge in this case was actually born in Colombia, moved to New York when he was like 6 years old, and then, was raised in New York and went to law school and, became a judge. So basically he was saying this judge is corrupt, this judge is this, and then he did one of those sidebar racist old man things where he goes, and where he's from, insinuating that because he's from Colombia, he must be, one of those
Whatever.
people. Yes. And so he wins the Padejo Chronicles because I know Trump thinks he's above the law. He's got this entitlement and so forth. I don't know any criminal in America that is in a criminal case that can actually go in front of the camera and insult the judges the way this guy does and then complains about, well, he ruled against me. I'm just saying that there's got to be a little bit of part of the judge who was, if Trump had been just a decent person, maybe would have ruled. I wouldn't say he ruled for him or whatever, but it's so naive for anyone to listen to Trump and to hear him complain about the judge when he's insulting the judge. And I think most normal people who have never been in a criminal case or whatever, or who respect the rule of law, would look at that and go, well, you deserve it. Does that not just sound crazy to you for a criminal defendant to insult the judge the way he's been insulting this judge? I mean, doesn't it make you go, well, you deserve to be convicted?
Not only is Trump stupid, but his attorneys are stupid for letting him even do a press conference.
Yes.
Because there's amongst protesters and things like that. In fact, there's a video that I'm probably going to play on my Instagram. Is that you're never supposed to talk to police. So if they arrest you at a protest, you're just supposed to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason. So if you're on trial for a criminal offense, the last thing you want to do is violate your own Fifth Amendment rights by trotting out to a press conference and just being a dick. And it's serving him no purpose. It's not going to, it's probably not going to change his outcome, but the public perception of his outcome could be affected. And it's just stupid. It's really, really, really stupid. And it's the same thing he's done for 8 years. So I'm not shocked he's acting like this. I'm just shocked that his legal team is not taking the microphone from him and going, he has no comment. His PR person should be fired. We should start there. I'm not pro-Trump. I just think the people around him just don't listen, and they're not real smart.
I think I don't know what they think, but all I know is that there is a car, to use your analogy, there's kind of like this car crash mentality. I like looking at him crashing because he's crashing. But at the same time, I want it to be over with. I want them to clear the crash out so we can move on, so we can have, go back to, we're never going to be, kumbaya, but at least get back to where we actually look at Republicans and say, the reason I don't like you is because your policy, not because you're a dick. So that's what I'd like to go back to.
I don't mind a president being in the news if they give a speech about landing on the moon or something like that, and doing something important, building a bridge, feeding orphans, whatever it is. But at some point, I don't think we should want politicians on trial. I think when we see this idiocy that we're seeing with certain people, and governors admitting that they purposely shot a dog. Like at some point, you just kind of look at it and go, that kind of stuff has to just stop. Like, don't put people like that in office. Don't give them a microphone. Don't amplify them. Don't reward them for bad behavior. Let's start holding them accountable. And the best way to hold them accountable, get out and vote. Vote those idiots out.
Well, the only good news, and we'll leave it this one. The good news is America, the United States of America, and our citizens, we're known for having very short-term memories, and we're also known for getting tired of people. Whether it's a celebrity, whether it's whoever, we just get tired. We're like, okay, we've had enough of you, Kardashians. Okay, we've had enough of you, whomever. You know what I mean? And the good news is people are tired of Trump. And there comes a point where people say, even his fans, there comes a point where people say, all right, I'm kind of tired of, this thing. I need to move on. So I hope that this summer, as we end the show here, people start to understand, all right, I just really want I want something different. All right. The clown show, I'm tired of, and I want to kind of move on. So I do hope that people, I feel that I get that sense from some people that I know that have supported him in the past. They don't want to openly admit that, I did support kind of a clown, and this is becoming kind of a joke. Even for them, it's becoming a joke. They don't want to admit it because people just don't like to admit they've made mistakes. But I do hope that this summer gives people reason to look at it. Like you said, take a look at the candidates. Am I voting for this person because of the craziest person on social media, or am I voting for this person because they're a really good person for this job? And I do hope that people take a look at that. So, anywho, all right, that's it for me. Anything else, Jen, before we go around and tell us where you're going to be? Okay, listen, I want to thank everyone for joining us. This was our last show for May. The first show for June will be next week, and it will be our annual Pride. June is the Pride Month in the United States, and we'll be talking about that, and then our summer shows, of course. And of course, I'm excited because I go to my undisclosed location to do the shows about Florida. And then, of course, as we mentioned, Jenny and I mentioned this before, but we'll talk about this further in the summer. We have several other kind of spin-off things that are going to be happening in the fall of 2024. So if you like gossip, we'll have one for that. If you like entertainment, we have one for that. So if you like Jenny's show, she'll be talking about, the LGBT issues and everything that impacts her life and y'all's lives. So Jenny, when this show drops, it's the weekend after Memorial Day. Do you have any plans or anything exciting going on?
Just going to enjoy the beginning of summer and super excited it's here.
All right. Excellent. Well, I like summer, but I'm more fall. So there's always something to look forward to. The great news is Jenny and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. We actually have seasons. And so I have to remind myself how wonderful it is, because growing up in Texas, where I grew up, it was either hot or cold. A very little bit in between, but either hot or cold. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next week in Coffee and Pan Dulce. Jenny, thanks for helping carry the show. And let's see if we can get this in here. Give me 1 second, and we will see here how it works. Does that work? All right.
Nice.
Well, that's nice Brooks and Dunn. So,
yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
We'll see you next week.
Perfect. Hey y'all, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce as we rock it out with little Brooks and Dunn. And happy summer. It is here. And we'll see you over the summer. See y'all next week. Bye y'all. Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds great.
You sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying this. All I have to say is go. Yes.
As a non-Spanish speaker. Cool.
All right, here we go. All right, we'll just talk briefly about I'm going to have you do basically what do you think what's going to happen this summer, to get ready for the elections and stuff like that. Okay, here we go. Good job, Jen. You did a whole segment there. All right. Hey, when we come back, I want to talk about what you had said something about. This is just a rerun, this election. Okay. So, all right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to talk about what you said about the person representative. I like that analogy. Here we go.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.